Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Alex Green, here to help you to accomplish your goals, achieve success, and to become the person that you know you can be. And we'll start off today by talking about your thinking and how, for a lot of people, you have to change your thinking to become successful, to accomplish what you need to do. Because a lot of people are stuck in what I call survival mode. I was stuck in that for a little bit, up until about a little over a year ago. I was in survival mode, where you're just thinking, I need to do what I need to do to get through the day, to make it to the next day. Or I just need to do just enough to maintain today. And that's being in survival mode. That's when that's when you're doing what I call playing not to lose. You're not playing to win, but you're playing not to lose. And a lot of people get stuck in this phase of just maintaining instead of going out and trying to become better, trying to thrive, trying to succeed. And that's where a lot of people kind of get caught up and get hung up on. And what you have to do is you have to learn to change your thinking. And what I mean by that, me personally, I've been through the change. I've changed my thinking tremendously. Used to be, let's put it back in 2015 around March, that's when my thinking really changed. I was sitting there playing Skyrim, watching a YouTube video, doing them both at the same time, because I'm a multitasker. But I was watching the video, and I kept getting this ad pop up. It's a guy, Tai Lopez. He's talking about how he was living on someone's couch for with $45 in his bank account, and now he lives in Beverly Hills. And he's showing off, he offers cars, and he's saying, I read a book a day, I got all these books, I'm proud of it. And he's talking about how not long ago his life was what it was on that couch with $45, and now it is here, and how you can change. And I keep listening to this ad, and finally, for whatever reason, I decide, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy. He says it's going to be a couple of minutes, and then 45 minutes in, I realize I'm not playing Skyrim anymore. I'm focused completely on what this guy is saying. Then it ends after about 2 hours total. Then I play it back. Then I play it back a third time. And the third time I did it right when my girlfriend had got back from work. I'm like, run it by you. Well, how do you feel about it? And she was like, oh, he has some interesting information, but I'm not really feeling him. I'm not into it, but I'm motivated at this point in time. I'm pumped. I'm like jumping around. I'm thinking, I'm like, man, like I really feel like this can improve. I can improve my life with some of this stuff. And so I start to put some of it into effect. He talks about the more you learn, the more you earn. I started reading books on how to better manage your finances, how to become in better shape, become a better leader, a lot of different things. I started doing that, and lo and behold, next thing you know, I had my supervisor pull me aside one day like, your performance at work has been off the chart. What's going on here? And I'm just like, I've been reading, doing a lot of things, We do different presentations in like group meeting one time, and it turned into me just kind of motivating people, talking, and people, after the meeting, people were like, man, I really enjoyed the way you were talking about it. It really inspired me, I'm ready to go take on the day. And that was just for me changing my thinking. I changed my thinking from, I just need to get out and get through this day, get to work, get out so I can go home and enjoy some TV, and went to, how can I become better at work today? What can I do today to help me become a better person tomorrow, to become a better employee tomorrow, to own my own business tomorrow? What do I need to do today? And when I started to have that thinking, it's what I like to call it a quote I heard one time that was like, you can never find a solution when you're focused on the problem. Over here you have a problem. Over here is the solution. When you're focused on the problem all over here, it's hard to find that solution when it's back here. And that's what it really becomes when you start to change your thinking, when you're saying there is more out there for me, how can I go get it, instead of I've got what I've got now, and I don't want to risk losing it to gain anything else, so I'll just stay here and stay put. And when you're doing that, you're just failing in slow motion. It's just it might not feel like I failed today, or feel like I failed tomorrow or next week. But eventually, you're gonna look back and be like, I wish I would have done. I wish I would have done that, but I didn't want to be uncomfortable. And the burden of discomfort weighs a pound. The burden of regret weighs a ton. And so you gotta change your mind. You gotta focus on the right things there. So when you're out there and you're trying to lose 5 pounds, you should be focused and putting your mind on the weight that you want to be. You got to change your thinking. That's like they have the saying, you can never get rich thinking like a poor person. You can never get fit thinking like someone who's unfit. You can never do that. So you got to focus on what you need to be doing. Change your thought pattern. There are a lot of people out there who I would like to be slim. I've been overweight all my life. Well, if you want to be slim, you got to think like a slim person. And I have people that I work with, talk to and think, they're like, I wish I were you. I bet if I were you, I'd be up and going. I'm like, that's the thoughts that you should have in the morning when you want to roll over and go back to sleep. And when you're like, what? I bet that person wouldn't do that. That's the thought you got to have. You got to start thinking like that person. You got to start thinking like the person you want to be. If you want to be someone who's in better shape, you want to be someone who's more fit, you got to think that way. You got to be like, okay, someone who's fit gets up and goes running in the morning, or they get up and go for a walk, they eat healthier. That's how you got to think. You can't be an observer. You can't be like, oh, if I was eating healthy, that's what I would eat. I'm like, I'm eating healthy, so this is what I'm going to eat. Like you got to be thinking that way. You got to get in the right mind, and that holds so many people back. And some people know what they need to do. They know what they need to do. They know, but they don't do it because of fear. And when it comes to fear, you can't let fear hold you back, because people fear failure. They don't want to feel humiliated. They don't want to feel like they weren't able to do something. That's just that fear. And anytime you have a fear of being humiliated, a fear of being let down, like you're going to let yourself down, you're going to let someone down, that means it means something to you. No one has ever been humiliated doing something that didn't mean anything to you. Let's say you have a professional video game player and someone who doesn't really care about video game players. The professional video game player, if he goes and loses to that person, he's going to be humiliated, because that's who he is. Like that's what it didn't mean something to him. Whereas if the professional video game player completely annihilates this other person who doesn't play video games, it doesn't mean anything to him. And so that's when when you get that fear, and that means it means something to you. And what that means it's worth it. It's worth it to go through the trouble. Don't think not to lose. Because there's a difference between thinking to win and thinking not to lose. When you're thinking to win, you're looking for opportunities. You're looking for chances. You're looking for any reason you have to go forward. You're looking for any path, as opposed to when you're thinking not to lose, you're looking for obstacles or any type of dangers around. You're just kind of scanning and looking and like, hey, what's around here that I need to be wary of? And when you're thinking to win, you're like, there's an opportunity right there. Let me go ahead and take it right now. And so don't let that fear is what makes people play not to lose. And that fear, like I said, it means something to you when you're afraid of that humiliation. And that's when you got to step into it. That's when you got to move forward and embrace that fear. That's like any book that you've ever read. No one was ever like, oh my gosh, this was so scary. I was so fearful that I'm just going to lay it down here, and that's the end of the book. No, there's always, they step through it, they try. Even if they do fail, they always come back stronger. They come back knowing more. They come back ready to take over. And of course, they always come back and overcome in some form or fashion. And that's what you have to realize. You have to realize that your failure isn't your final chapter. That's not your final chapter. I listened to a talk earlier today. I loved it. And it was about the CEO of Spanx, I believe. I can't remember her name. And she's talking about how What really helped her out is, as a child, her dad would always come in and ask her, "What did you fail? What did you fail at today?" Ask her and her siblings. And every time they would say something, he would clap for them, give them an applause, say, "I'm proud of you." And it was, I'm sure, that helped build the self-esteem thing, knowing that your dad is proud of you no matter what. But she said it did one thing for you. It made her realize that not trying was the true failure. Failing at being good at something or not being good at something isn't the failure. It's the act of not trying, just not going out there and giving it an attempt. That's the true failure. And like I said, that's just failing over time. Failing in slow motion is when you don't try anything. And that's the mindset you have to have. You have to start to think. You have to find a mentor out there, someone that you look up to, someone you want to be like. And you should always ask yourself, what would this person be thinking? That's what I need to think. And and if you don't have anyone out there, create them. Create that person in your mind. Have them. Be your own role model. Create a fictional person. And be like, oh, this is what they would do if they were in this situation. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow in their footsteps. Or I'm going to make my own footsteps. This is the person I want to be. I know this who. Doing your future self, I do that a lot. What would my future self say? What would my future self, my future successful self say? That's what I say. That change of thinking has helped me shed off over 50 pounds. It's helped me in about a year, I say right at about a year, moving to a different job to where I'm making double what I was making. It's just that change of thought, looking for that opportunity, not always being fearful. And that's really the thought process that you have to change. And I promise if you do that, you'll see your life start to turn around. And it'll happen sooner than you know. It happens so much faster than you actually think. Because people don't like to people want immediate return. It's crazy. I read in a book one time that people would take $5 today over $10 tomorrow. And that's crazy. You could have double tomorrow if you just wait a little bit. That's what you got to do. You got to put in the effort and then wait for it to come back, but continue to put in the effort. You put in the effort on Monday, you're going to be repaid on Friday, but if you put in the effort on Tuesday, you'll be repaid even more on Saturday. Then if you put in even more effort on Wednesday, you'll be repaid even more on Sunday. So continue to put that effort in and continue to reap those rewards. And that's the thinking that you have to have. Sometimes when you're thinking not to lose, you're like, "What? I need to protect this." You're afraid to take 2 steps forward because you think you might end up taking 1 step back. But guess what? Every time you take 2 steps forward and you succeed, that 1 step back is still in front of where you were. So remember, it's worth the risk to take it. And you got to think that way. You got to think like a winner. You can't be afraid to lose. Change your thinking, and it'll change your life. It'll change your future. It'll change everything. It'll be a lot less stressful. So just change your thinking, folks. Thank you so much for listening today. Once again, this is Alex Green coming to help you develop into the person you want to be. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.